We're going to look at stretching Newman frames today, the roller frames. This one I already have prepped. Took the old mesh out, took the locking strips out, also got some ink gradient and wiped down the frame just to get it nice and clean. The first step that we're going to have to do is to loosen these, the actual frame itself. So I took my wrench, I went around to all of the bolts, and I loosened it so they all spin easily, independently of each other. You'll notice on some of these shoulder pieces, there's markings to indicate how far this goes in. There's 5 of them. We want to be the second to the closest from the inside. So right around there. Now there's no lines down here, so we just have to kind of guesstimate a little bit. And we're actually going to go ahead and add some tension to here just to keep these from rolling around. So I'm just going to get them snug. So now they're all kind of pointing inwards just a touch. Now's a good time to actually get our mesh out. So I'm going to put my tools away and get the roll of mesh. And I'd like to just put it towards the back against the wall here and pull it out over the screen. That way I know that it's going to be a big enough piece. Grab my scissors here and just make one little cut at the top. Now, opposed to cutting down the whole way where it's going to be zigzag and a little crooked, we can go ahead and just grab here and tear the whole way down. That way we get a nice straight cut. Fold it in half now because we can get 2 out of each section. And again, we'll grab our scissors. Just make a little cut there. Pull it in half so we have 2 equal pieces. Just so we're making the best use out of our mesh. Sometimes little threads kind of hang on there. It's a little difficult to get them apart. That second piece we can just fold up and put in the closet. That way it's ready for us next time we're doing screens. And just get our mesh and get it out of the way. Alright, so we want to start from the bottom of the screen. The bottom being the rectangular bar, and I'm going to get our box of tools out. Right now I'm just going to need my clips. And I also have my locking strips here that I took out of the screen. If you're ever missing locking strips, we have a big rubber band pile here that you can choose from. If that's missing, over in the far cabinet is the roll where you can cut a fresh one. So I want to start by taking 2 of these locking strips, 2 of these clips, just popping them in here. I want this mesh to be straight. I don't want the threads to be on at an angle. So I'm just going to grab a locking strip and I'm going to stick it underneath my mesh and have it pushing against this clip and just put my thumb at the back just to kind of make a mark of how far away that mesh is. Come over here, do the same, just to kind of measure the 2 against each other. So that's looking pretty good. They're both about 6 inches away. That looks great. I want to find my longest locking strip now. Put it in the back here. Okay, whenever you come up to one of these clips, you want to remove that. If you have it slide along with the locking strip, you risk tearing that mesh, which you may not notice until you add some tension to it, and that's when you're going to be in trouble. So do the bottom, flip it around. Same process for the top now. Don't need to give it a ton of tension here, but I like to just make sure it's taut. Now pick my shortest one. Now down here, or on the top side, and this will be true for both sides as well, you can see a shift in the color of metal right here, from where it goes the lighter part of the channel into the square part of the darker color. When I put this locking strip in, I want it to stay in the lighter silver part. If it extends past sticking out of that channel, hanging into the darker metal part, the next step is going to be really difficult when we go to soften corners. So that's just something to be aware of. So always just make sure before you put it in, kind of measure it first, make sure that it's going to fit in there like we expect it to. There's my first one. Okay. Careful now with the sides. Again, I'm going to double check this. That looks good. And my last side. Alright, so I have all my locking strips in. We're so far so good. The next step is called softening corners, and the idea is to give a little bit more material in the corners so when we start to give tension to the screen, we're not going to tear. Now we don't need to do that at the bottom of the screen along the rectangular bar. It's just the two top corners where we have the where it meets with both bars moving. And as I mentioned before, we don't want to have our locking strip go past this threshold of the lighter color metal to the darker color metal. It's going to make this process really hard if that's happening. We're going to take some of our clips and insert them into the channel, and then grab our vinyl application tool, either the yellow or blue one that lives back here. We're going to make sure that we have enough room in there. We're going to set these clips from the corner about the length of that vinyl tool, plus a little bit so it easily fits in there. And then grab a Sharpie. And we're just going to mark along the inside of the channel. If you get some on the locking strip, that's fine. We're just going to draw a line. Now our goal is going to be to provide some extra fabric in this corner, so as we apply tension, it's not going to tear. So with one hand, we want to kind of push down with your thumb. The other hand, take the vinyl tool and kind of push it in and push down at the same time. And you can see that line starting to move away from the corner of the screen. You want to have about an inch. That's kind of a good distance. It might be a touch overkill, but I'd rather go more than not have enough. I'm going to turn the screen a little bit. Okay, and do the same thing on this side. Okay, and there you can see how far. The black line or the Sharpie line is just to indicate how far you're going. If you don't have that, it makes it a little bit harder to figure out how far you've gone. So we now have softened corners, and that needs to be done to both of the top sides, not the bottom along the rectangular bar. That bar doesn't move, so it's fine where it is. Now that we have softened corners, go ahead and put our clips away. Get our tools out again. And now we're going to go back through the bolts and loosen them up again. We just need those tightened so they didn't rotate as we soften corners. Okay, when you're ready to start applying some pressure here and doing the final steps, we're going to take our screen and put it substrate side down. And out of our tool bin here, we're going to grab these two little pieces of squeegee and stick it under each side just to give our wrench some room to work. We put the vinyl tool away. I'm going to get out our tension device. Put this toad away, just give some working room. That device we'll use to make sure we have proper tension to it. Anytime we're not using it, we want to lay it back in its case. So the first thing we're going to do is grab our wrench. The tape indicates that's the side we're using. We're going to start from the top and just start giving that some tension. We then want to take our tension device to actually measure this, opposed to just moving it and then checking it at the end. So this is a fabric, so it has threads going in both directions. Right now we're tightening the threads going in this direction. So our tension tool is measuring based on this line in the center. If I take that and I have the face facing me, it's going to be like trying to get this to walk a tightrope. It's not going to read the tension right. It has to be going across the threads for it to tension right, to read the tension correctly. So you actually have to face the face of the device away from you, not backwards, but just to the side at a 90-degree angle, and check it out. Our goal is to hit around 25 or so here. I need to adjust my wrench. When I do so, I'm going to take this device and lay it back in here, just in case my wrench pops off and the screen goes flying. I don't want to damage that device. It's about 350 bucks, so we just need to take care of it. Just going to watch that till I'm in the neighborhood of 25 or so. Now I'm at 30. 30 will probably do it for me. We don't need to go crazy with it. And even before I apply tension with my wrench, I'm going to put this back in its case. Again, just in case something pops off, I don't want to damage that. Oh, gosh, turn that over. Okay, now I'm actually ready to give this full tension, so I want to take the wrench and push it until it torques. Wonderful. Do the other side now. If you start to tighten this one, and you can see I have a wobble to it already, just take your wrench on the other side and push down, and as I give that some pressure in this front corner, it's dropping this back corner a little bit. You can kind of see it moving there. So just kind of keep an eye on that as you go. You want to keep this as square as you can. Well, now we want to repeat that process on both sides. Now the ideal tension for a 110 mesh from the manufacturer is about 35 to 40 newtons. So our goal for this first one is to get halfway there easily without really trying. I'm already at 30. So again, I'm not looking for high numbers, I just need to hit my tolerance. So I'm going to be quite happy with that. That a little bit. Gonna have a wobble, we'll fix that at the end, not too concerned. If I just push the wrench on this one, that corner drops down. Okay, and the last side. Probably a touch difficult to see, but you'll see in your own screen the Sharpie lines that we put on. You can see how much tension is on those Sharpie lines. That extra fabric would give it. If we don't do that without softening, all of that pressure is right up against that corner of the channel, and that's where we tend to see it pop. So that's why that is really important to do. Here's our last one. I got it on the wrong side.